Computapes, Excel Video 4, formatting a range of cells. Now, the word range is very important when we work with Excel. A range is a group of cells that is currently highlighted or selected. So, how does one do that? Well, it's very simple. In order to select several cells at once, you would click and drag across the spreadsheet. You could click and drag from the top left to the bottom right, and you notice in any range of cells that's selected, the top left cell stays white. That's what we call the lead cell, and we'll be talking more about that in the future. Now, notice if I click and drag just a few cells, and then I click Format, Column Width, and I put 35, notice the specific cells that were highlighted become 35 units long, undo. But if I click Format, Row Height, and I change it to 30, and I click OK, notice just the rows that were selected in the range had changed. Now, in this range, I simply typed the names of the cells themselves just for illustration purposes so that you can see what happens when we delete. Notice this is Q4, Q5, Q6, S5, S6, S7, etc. Watch what happens if I select 3 rows at once and then I delete them. If I click on the 3 middle rows, 5, 6, and 7, and then I click Delete Sheet Rows, what's going to happen is Q4 will be immediately next to Q8. It will delete and collapse the rows up, which means row number 8 will become row number 5. Watch. Boom. Row number 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, has the content that row number 8 now had because the 3 middle rows were deleted. Now I undo. What about deleting columns? Well, if I dragged across these 2 columns here, it means that as soon as I deleted the 2 columns, column T, or the content in column T, would jump over to column R because it would delete the contents that's currently in column R and S, and these would collapse by moving left. Delete sheet columns. Notice what was previously in column T bumped over because these 2 columns were deleted, creating an empty space that pulls what's to the right over to the left. And again, undo. Notice when you delete rows, the remaining rows move up because in English we read from top to bottom, which means if there's an empty space, the bottom comes up. Notice if you delete columns in the middle, the columns to the right get bumped, or the content in the columns to the right get bumped to the left because in English we read from right to left. So if there's an empty space here, whatever's to the right gets bumped over. So watch again. If I delete rows, delete sheet rows, the rows below, the content in the rows below, get pulled up into the empty vacuum that's created when you delete the rows. When I choose to delete several columns at once, notice the content to the right gets pulled to the left as it occupies the empty space that was created by the deleted rows. Then the question becomes, how do you insert columns and rows? Well, it's very simple. When I choose 2 particular rows and I click Insert Sheet Rows, what's going to happen to the contents of what's in the row? That's right, it will get bumped down because in English we read from top to bottom. So if new stuff is stuck in the middle, the old stuff gets bumped down. Insert Sheet Rows, and notice the content of rows 6, 7, and 8 then get bumped to 8, 9, and 10, whatever they happen to be. Clear formatting. Okay. Now, what about, let's just keep on doing, undo. Good. What about when we insert a column? Where do you think the rows are going to be bumped to? Well, that's right. The content of everything to the right of the range will be bumped to the right. Insert sheet columns. And notice what was previously in column R and S and T got bumped over to T, U, and V because it inserted two columns because two columns were selected at the minute I clicked Insert Column.